This is TWiT. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I hear Kodachrome. That can mean but one thing. Time for Chris Marquardt, the photo guy. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Chris leads expeditions all over the world to help you be a better photographer. He has the best photography podcasts in the world. The original tips from the top floor. Now you're doing one on the future of photography. What's the name of that one?
The Future of Photography.
Oh, what a good name.
it's the most basic name we could find. thefutureofphotography.com.
I was once told the title should either be clever or say what the thing is. And I think it's good to say what the thing is. The future.
In this case, it is, and it's on every podcast client. If you have a podcast client, just type it into the search.
It's fascinating, really. It's
great.
It's
a relatively short show once a week, and we explore where photography will take us in the future. And there's always interesting developments these days with like computational photography or interesting new gadgets that are coming out. Gadgets that won't be that won't be useful for a while, but that might be interesting, or algorithms that do noise reduction that you haven't seen before. Very interesting ways to think about photography and what's going to come. And I do this because, and I don't do this alone. I do this with Adrian, with a friend, and we started to explore this because both Adrian and I are also kind of rooted in film-based photography, analog photography. So it is really kind of the trying to bridge both sides, the past and the future. And we're also both kind of nerds, so it's something that we could talk about forever.
All right, well, that's why you're on every week. I agree. I love it. And, I'm I guess best described as an avid amateur photographer. I love this stuff. So what are we doing today? More stuff I can buy.
Well, maybe, possibly. I do want to talk about a gadget, but this is an interesting lens. And you do own a macro lens. I know.
Do.
And
yeah. Tell people what a macro is.
A macro is a lens with a big magnification, and that lets you get very close into things. So if you want to take these pictures of bees or bugs or flowers very, very close up that are really big on the photo, that's a macro photo. And they are normally like focal length of 50 millimeters or maybe 100 millimeters. And they have a very narrow angle of view, so they show you very little. You know these photos that are very out of focus. Everything's out of focus apart from the thing you're looking at. So the background is all very creamy, out of focus. And the depth of field, that amount of focus in a picture, that depends on a few things. One is, of course, the distance. The closer you go, the less in focus you will have. Then there's the aperture, which is the hole in the lens, and the bigger that hole, the less focus you have in a photo. But then there's also the focal length, which is the millimeters on your lens. And again, there's 50 millimeter macro lens, there's 100 millimeters, there's stuff in between.
They tend to be longer. Mine is 85. Why is that? They tend to be so you can stand farther away from the bees?
You can stand a bit further away. Just imagine you're taking pictures of, bees or bugs, things that might get afraid when you come close to them with this huge lens, and they might just flee. So the flight, we call it the flight distance.
Okay.
And if you... Yeah, but now there's a Kickstarter project. When this is released, it's probably already over. But it's a lens that is a macro lens, but at the same time it's a wide angle lens, which is very unusual. And not just that, it is also a lens that is what's called a probe lens.
It looks like proboscis. It looks like you're an anteater attached to your camera. It's this long rod.
Well, it has this long barrel. It's very thin. It's like 2 centimeters in diameter. It's less than an inch. The barrel is like 40 centimeters long. It's like 15 inches. It's waterproof, so you can poke it in liquids, and it has. Not just that, it's wide angle and it gives you more depth of field, more focus, but it has right in the front, around the very small lens in the front, it has a ring of LEDs. So it brings its own light with it, which is another problem that you sometimes have with macro photography, if you get really close in with that big lens, you're also casting a lot of shadow.
It's tricky. There's a lot of technical issues to macro photography.
Oh, yeah.
This you can actually do video with, which is kind of it. You could do a bug's life.
Well, it fits on your DSLR, on your Micro Four Thirds camera. It just kind of adapts.
Okay, I want to buy one. How much?
I have no idea. It's on Kickstarter.
It's the LAOWA. You can search for Laowa on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's expensive. $1,400.
See, it's a very specialized thing.
Never mind.
I have no intention of getting one. No. I have no intention of getting one. It is a very specialized lens, but you can do interesting shots. I mean, they have some examples there, like the camera goes into an open bottle.
Oh, that's cool.
Into the neck of a bottle, because it fits in there. So all of a sudden you can do a camera traveling to places that you usually cannot travel to with a camera, and it makes a very interesting kind of photography accessible. It's almost like, an endoscope where you can poke something into. Well,
I have one of those. You could put that on your smartphone. It's got a USB adapter, and
you can put it on a smartphone, and you can look in your. I
wouldn't recommend swallowing
engine.
it. Yeah, it's more for stuff like that. Yeah.
It's more like that, and this one is kind of similar, but it has decent image quality. This is pretty cool.
Is the image quality good? I guess it is.
Well, from what I've seen, I've just seen it in videos. It looks decent. I have certainly not looked at it in too much detail, but for what it's being used for, the things they show look fairly okay. So
really interesting.
Yeah, it will enable things that so far haven't really been possible, other than doing them in the computer in CGI, and now it's turning into something different.
LAOWA. A lot of point and shoots have macro settings. Is that the same thing?
Sure. Almost. So when we look at it, technically, real macro is if the thing in front of the camera has the same size on the sensor of the camera. So it's a 1:1 ratio, 1:1 ratio. Yeah. That's what we call real macro. This lens actually goes a 2:1. So what in front of the camera can be twice as big on the sensor.
So it's more like a microscope, really.
Right. And if you have a point and shoot or something, and it has a macro setting, usually they don't go that big. So macro is a very loosely used term here. Right. It just usually means, yes, you can get a bit closer and get a bit of a better magnification.
Wow. Oh, wow. Macro's fun to play with, though, and if you have a point and shoot, there is even a macro mode on some camera phones. It's fun to get close-up pictures, and of course, you can always get macro adapters that go on your camera phone, iPhone, and which ones do you? I used to use an Allo clip.
Allo clip was one. There's a whole ton of them that
you just clip right on, and that's kind of cool.
Clip on.
Yeah, that's probably that's what I would do. That's a lot cheaper. It's $60 instead of $1,500.
Yeah,
a little bit more affordable. Chris Marquardt, you could find all of his stuff, including his workshops upcoming. In fact, you've just set up a workshop for 2020 to Lake Baikal.
Planning ahead.
Wow, Lake Baikal is the largest freshwater lake in the world in Siberia. Find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com, and you can also get a look at his images there. And I bet you'll find his podcast somewhere around those environs, right?
Absolutely.
What's our assignment? We're still working on
the hat assignment.
Hat. Take a picture illustrating the concept hat, whatever that means to you. Tag it with the word hat, upload it to Flickr, and then submit it to the Tech Guy group. And in a few weeks, we're both out of town. When we get back, we'll do a review. Thank you, Chris. Safe travels. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More calls right after this.